Welcome to the Bay County Historical Museum. It's nice to have everybody here for our last second Saturday of the year, not forever. We will start again in January. My name is Judy Jeffers, and I'm on the board of directors at the museum, and I have been for I think a lifetime, but I have enjoyed every bit of it. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be here. I am here to introduce our entertainers today, the Bay Chorale group, and I'm anxious to see if I hope they sing. I don't know whether they're going to or not, but they're going to tell us. Pardon me?
We're going to have it on the CD.
Oh, good. We'll get to hear them anyway. Before I get started, make sure that you have your cell phones turned off. I'll do that myself. Ron Bloomfield, who has been our director for the past 23 years, is leaving us and going over to Central Michigan. And it's going to be their gain and our loss. Ron has been the better part of this society for, as I say, 23 years. I will let him briefly tell you what his responsibilities will be at CMU.
I'm going to the Center for Cultural and Natural History. Actually, it's the Museum of Cultural and Natural History, which is in Rowell Hall. It's the university's museum, and I'm going to be their collections manager. And I'm also going to finish the master's degree I started 23 years ago. They call 23 years, they call that practical experience in the field. So I'm going to use all the practical experience to then help shape the next generation of museum studies students as well, which is something I've always wanted to do.
Thank you, Ron. Well deserved. Mike Botchgalupo. Mike, would you stand, please? Mike is going to be our interim director. He has agreed to take us on as one of his responsibilities. He has many others in Bay City and Bay County, and he agreed to help us out for however long we need him. Thank you, Mike. And Mike Weiler, who is our vice president. Our president isn't here today. Mike is going to just put in his commercial.
Basically what Steve brings up every month is this museum is funded by a county millage and supplemented by any membership fees or money we can glean through grants or the people pledging money or whatever the case may be to help us work and grow. If you're not a member or wish to be a member, you can do that. It's pretty reasonable. You can sign up to be on our newsletter so you're informed of all the events going on here at the museum. And I was just going to tell you that Ron's going at this backwards, but it's a good thing, really. Most students go and get all that book sense and they don't have any common sense. Now, Ron's going to he's got the common sense, now he's going to go try to educate people with some book sense.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, now I will formally introduce to you the Bay Chorale group. They began in 1966 when a group came together who wanted to continue to perform music after they were finished with their high school. They didn't have a place to perform and to get together to sing, so they formed the Bay Chorale. We're very glad that they did. Since that time, the chorale has continued to bring music to our area during Easter and Christmas. Join members as they share the group's history and present a preview of this year's Christmas concert. And we hope you all attend the Christmas concert. This will be our final second Saturday, as I said earlier. We'll be starting up again in January, and we will have 11 good programs once we get started again, and we already have several of them already lined up, and I hope you'll enjoy them. Have a lovely, lovely Christmas and a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you for coming, and we certainly are excited to explain to you the little history lesson about Bay Chorale. My name is Kay Rowley, and I would like to introduce some of our board members that are going to help with the presentation today. So, as I say, I'm Kay Rowley, and then as I say your name, please stand up. We have Sue Tayo, longtime board member, Don Odger, Jim Merrill, another longtime member of the board. It seems like when you get on the board, you're just there forever. Well, she gave a short introduction. Indeed, it did start in 1966. I first moved into town in 1966, and I knew two people when we moved to Bay City. One was Patsy Plum and Bill Plum, and then we knew Nancy Bond. And they were teachers in Central High School, and they told me about this singing group that was going to join. And I thought, oh, well, that sounds good. So we all showed up together September, meeting at Handy High School. So that was the beginning, but how did it exactly start? It started with a dream, and it was from these directors, Walter Kramer, Jim Leonard, and Dr. Fred Brenner.
Okay, why don't you let me start?
Oh, I'm sorry. So they had this dream or thinking in January of 1966, and they thought, well, looking at the community, there were many people that graduated from high school or college or was a member of a choral group in their churches, but our area did not offer anything further as a group for opportunities to sing. So they were thinking maybe this would be something to try. So back in September, Jim Leonard was our first director. And as I said, we met in Handy High School. Roberta Bitgerd was our first accompanist. And they decided that Messiah would be the first thing we were going to sing. So we started with about 120 voices. Showed up that September. Let's see, where else are we going here?
Okay, the board members in that.
Yep, the board members at that time, to start us out, as you see there was Beatrice Jones, Dr. Roberta Bitgood, Ted Nadzilski. Thank you. Walter Kramer, Bill Peters, Dr. Peter McGee, Jim Leonard, and Dr. Fred Brenner were our board members. So I remember meeting that first time. Was a wonderful time. It was not a professional group at this time. We were just there meeting for the joy of singing. Jim Leonard was a very enthusiastic director, and we had a wonderful time. And then when we began our performance that first December for our Messiah, it was at the Bay City Auditorium, and back in those days, it was free. The schools were able to loan us their facility for free. So we gave this concert, as I said, 120 voices, and we began with the Bay Youth Orchestra.
Okay, slow down.
Okay. Okay. Now, we were given funding to start us out. The $500 was from the Bay County Recreation Commission. So that's what we received. And that first concert was donation. Now, we joined with the orchestra. Now, where is that?
That's coming.
It's coming.
And that was for the following year.
Yeah, the following year. Okay, this is located in our scrapbook. Somebody diligently recorded all of our singing concerts starting in '66. So it's kind of an old piece, but we do have it up here if you'd like to see that. But it was a full crowd. About 700 people showed up to hear our Bay Chorale. So it was quite successful. After viewing that, and they thought, well, we didn't know, where were we going to go from here? Well, we decided we're going to continue on, and 150 voices then decided to sign up for the spring concert. So we sang the Elijah, Mendelssohn's Elijah, 150 people. We were joined by the Bay Youth Symphony, We did perform at Wurtsmith Air Force Base, and then also the concert at, it was at Central.
By the way, I was in Bay Youth Symphony at the time. And so I have a foot in both groups. Bay Youth Symphony was sponsored by the Rotary and was directed by Walter Kramer, another one of his joyous little children. He just spawned all kinds of things around town. He was so excited about music, and we got to play with the Bay Chorale. And it was just amazing. I was a junior in high school at the time, and we also traveled to Wurtsmith Air Force Base, which like a travel concert. So, and that was kind of a leftover of the string program in the Bay City schools. I don't know if anyone is aware that there used to be both band and orchestra, and when the schools eliminated the string program, there was no more orchestra. So Wally Kramer decided we needed a group that could keep those orchestra members playing. I was not a string player, however, I loved playing as a flutist. I was much happier playing along with strings than with loud trumpets and blaring trombones and saxophones. So it was a marvelous activity for a high school kid.
And that was established as well because as you go through high school or college playing an instrument, what was there for you to do after those years? And so, again, the second wind, I believe, was
It's a continuation.
of that. But we did start together in the beginning. It was kind of together. Okay, looking at what our first program was, this was in November 1967. Just the battle hymn was patriotic. Yeah, battle hymn of the Republic, we watching over Israel. Every time some spirituals, every time I feel the Spirit. Then we had the Christmas Carol theme, so we did a lot of Christmas things. And it was very laid back. Y'all come, it said. So as I said, it was a joyful noise. And so as we continued on with this group and having our concerts on the December and then in the spring, we got better. And we kept getting better. So our...
This is the program that...
the Bay Youth Symphony and the Bay Chorale together. You know, we had the, well, Dawn, you should share this. You played in that, right?
Yeah, I had told them that.
Yeah. So there we are together.
And again, it was at Central High School Auditorium, which both groups were able to use for free. And the soloist Glenn Porterfeld in the Cherry Tree Carol, he's a gentleman that just died this past summer. Had a lovely, lovely, lovely voice.
Yeah, through the years, Bay Chorale has appropriated many wonderful soloists. Sometimes it came within the chorale. They were members of the chorale, and others we hired outside of the chorale from various universities nearby. Okay, we got to be so good, and the community liked us so well, they decided to increase their support, and so we're up to $1,000 now for our support. And now we are an entity. We decided, yes, we're going to stay alive, and we're going to continue on. At that time, back in the 80s, is when the government support was removed. As you see up there, Bay City, Essexville, and Bangor schools still provided us a place for our rehearsals and performances until the 1990s, and then they could no longer do that. So now we're kind of on our own. Bay Chorale funding since 1980 has come only from our membership dues, ticket sales, and donations. We are a tax-exempt organization. Luckily, in the community, we did have a lot of support by the Bay City Times. They would come in and when upcoming concerts were coming, they would come in and take pictures and talk a little bit about us and what we're all about and promoted us. So you're going to see a bunch of pictures here, and you might even recognize somebody, or one of your friends might be in these shots. But I see Veritas Skinner. Anyone know anyone else up there? Feel free to shout out a name if you...
Yeah, nothing is labeled in the scrapbook unless we know them already.
Yeah, unfortunately, unless they put their names in, we try to rely on our memories. Okay, Terry Flatt was one of our directors. He also worked at Saginaw Valley. So he came in and he directed us, I believe, for around 2 years. Gail McDermott was our accompanist at this time.
Patsy Swartz helped too.
And Patsy Swartz. Let's see.
Recognize anyone?
Too small to see.
Yeah.
Let's see if anybody knows this person.
Do you know that person?
Eichinger, Louise.
Louise Eichinger.
Okay.
She was at the board, on the board at one time, very active member. There's Jim Leonard, Hope Ringel, remember Hope?
Go down on the bottom.
Yep. Anyone else you recognize in there?
It's Gail Green. Yeah,
Gail Green?
The second one looks really familiar, but I can't come up with a name.
I don't know either.
Jim was enthused as usual,
Yes,
wasn't he?
he had a lot of expressions on his face.
This was
Pat Plum.
Pat Plum right on the
Pat Plum is the first one on the left. I don't know
Paul
who.
Sarasak in the middle.
Okay, Paul Sarasak.
with the
I
flowered
know the
shirt.
guy that's to his left, but I can't think of what his
Oh,
name is.
if anyone would like to come up and enlighten us who these people are, we would appreciate some names so we can keep
This
track of
was
this.
at the old Madison Avenue Methodist, and it was a group of pictures that were part of the Times, and they gave us the original pictures. Bay City Times cleans out their archives at certain points. And so there are a number of these original pictures in the scrapbook, and they were taken during practice at Madison Avenue Methodist. That was when Bob Saburn
Came aboard.
was director for a period of time. And there he is directing. He would be totally embarrassed to see.
Oh, he would.
how young
I
he
think it was right out of college.
And look at all the hair he had.
Dark mustache. There's Paul Sarasak to the left.
Don Clark was our accompanist at the time,
Yeah.
and we were meeting at John Glenn High School for this one.
I'm in there somewhere, but probably cut off. I don't know.
Some of these photographs were not in good shape because they're clippings from the newspaper. And so some cleaned up very well, but some just are not good enough.
Fiona Brandmeier, of course. She just passed away recently.
Yes.
Is that last year? Yeah.
Yes.
It says something about Miss Anita Wallerstein as alto.
That was Harry Wallerstein.
Was that
Harry Wallerstein?
wife or his daughter? Well, no, it would have been his
Anita.
miss. That was it his daughter?
Daughter, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Harry.
what's next?
It's a motorcyclist.
These are kind of just assorted. A lot of these were not dated. Now we're into 81.
And Bill Peters there.
This was before a concert at First Presbyterian.
Yep.
Kevin Cole.
Ah, yes. We have the program from that concert. He was in college.
At the time, yeah.
Who was that?
Kevin
Kevin
Cole. She
Cole.
noticed that one group article was featuring Kevin Cole as a guest artist.
Yeah, and this one's at
Okay.
First Presbyterian Church, that on December 1st, 1988.
No, I'm probably in there somewhere.
Here's another.
Yeah, there were times that we had the Aranet choruses were part of us, and we joined our voices until the Aranet group decided to branch off on their own.
Yes.
Okay. And that's when we received Dr. Eric Nazula, what became our conductor. And he was born in Hartford, Connecticut, and, well, we shouldn't say the date there, but. And he had a Bachelor of Music degree from Hartford College. And let's see.
He also served in the army somewhere in the middle of there too.
Could be.
Yes.
He spent a year in Frankfurt, Germany, studying the Bach specialists, and that's why he enjoys a lot of this Bach music. We can tell when he is in his element. He just very passionate. Then,
So we have more recent M Live
Yeah,
features, or used to feature, until they had some new policies.
well, they had to cut back.
So in their archives, they still have some of the photographs that they've done in the more recent years. And this is a more
This is a recent one. I recognize these faces.
Oops, something happened. There's a
And
picture
that's
of
Dr. Eric Nazula. Pretty much looks the same.
That's more recent one.
Yeah.
and this was, I don't have a year on this one.
Well, 25th anniversary, this
Yeah,
is the
this
50th.
this is
What would it be?
25 years ago.
yeah.
What year though? What year?
Got to figure it out who's mathematical. This is 19 or 2016,
91.
91. This is when the Bay Arts Council was formed. Peg Rowley had a brilliant idea, to try to promote all the arts in the area. And so this was the original group when that was organized here. We have Pat Essex, Joseph Hamill, Gerald Holmes, Phyllis Sabine.
This is George Richard.
So they met and they got organized, and we started these groups up above, kind of under their domain. And, well, of course, now we have Mike Bacialupo knows more about the Bay Arts Council now. But this is how it started in the beginning. Okay, back then, membership in the Bay Chorale varied through the years, but has always included a cross-section of men and women from all over the community. Early on, when we gave our concerts, we did not list our singers. So we did not have a list of who all was with us when we first started at 6. But here it is. So if you might see some people you know up there. This is just kind of a summary, number of years the donors placed display ads in the Bay Chorale. And we thought you might be interested in seeing some old friends. Some are still in existence and some are not.
I don't think I think every one of those is gone.
Yeah. Okay, here is where I was referring to a little earlier, 9 directors in our 50 years. Jim Leonard was with us about 12 years. Bob Sabrin, I'd say around 2, and then he was off and on interim there for a while. We had Vern Freed. He came from First United Methodist Church. He was choir director there, so he came, I think, a year. Jeff Whitmill, I think he was 1 year. Barbara Heeshen, 1 year. Ken Wright, wasn't he 1 year?
I think he was like.
One semester?
We did the
Friendship?
spring concert, yeah, or summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Bryant Brewer, Terry Flatt was with us, I think, 2 years. And then, as I said, Terry Flatt was a professor at Saginaw Valley, and Eric Nazula also comes from Saginaw Valley. And I remember specifically, I was on the board, it was end of July and we had just signed a contract with a new director because Terry Flatt was leaving Saginaw Valley and going somewhere else, I think in Kentucky or somewhere. So we had signed this wonderful director, and the name escapes me, but it was the director for the Saginaw Choral Society. He was with them for a long time, but anyway, Yonkers, yeah. And he signed with us, and then he was offered the job in Saginaw, and I remember him calling and saying, I'm sorry, but I can't be your director. So it's the end of July, we're gonna start in September, and the board goes, so Terry Flatt, since he was at Saginaw Valley College, we got the name of Eric Nazula that filled his position. And so we signed Eric up in 1979, but it was last minute. And so
Does anybody remember the name of it was like an operetta work that we did?
Bishop of Brindisi?
Death of the Bishop of Brindisi. That was very controversial.
It was very controversial.
Yes. In fact, Val Schweiss had been in the Bay Chorale
Yeah,
for a little while, and she dropped out.
because of that. Well, we've had many members come and go because of maybe possibly what we were singing, and maybe it was too highbrow for them. They just didn't care for the music, and they would join us another time. When we got Eric, and as well, look at all of our accompanists, and very adept, wonderful people, very talented. So you might notice a few names there.
Mary went to Russia with us.
Yeah, Mary Penzine went to Russia, excellent. And we have now is Kristen Newbecker, she's with us now, and has been for quite a while. So, Dr. Eric Nazula, still associated with Saginaw Valley State College. We have, the membership has dropped some. We no longer have those wonderful 100 voices and so forth, but we are down to 48 members. However, when you look, when we started just being a very joyful singing group, through those 50 years, we got to be quite accomplished. And now, instead of, I'd say we're semi-professional. We have really grown. So that even though the numbers have diminished, we've gotten better. And you hopefully, I don't know how many have attended some of our concerts. Have you heard of Bay Chorale and been to one of our concerts? If not, we hope to see your faces this coming December. But it makes a difference, the quality. And so the group has grown, and Dr. Nazula is a perfectionist. So we go over it and over it and over it. But in the end, it does pay off for a wonderful concert. So we are blessed to have such a great group that we can say we're semi-professional at this point. And we do deliver a wonderful concert for the area. Okay, now we see some of the wonderful groups that we've had in the past. You see the First Presbyterian Church Bell Choir and the Westminster Bell Choir, Emmanuel Lutheran Church Bell Choir, of course, Bay Youth Symphony, Aranac Choraleers, Saginaw Symphony, Saginaw Chorus Society, Bay City Central High School Choirs, Saginaw Valley College, we'll have to go through that later. Central Michigan University Symphony Orchestra, Delta Flute Choir, Bay Area Barbershop Singers, and the Collegium, which we still have quite they still perform with us today. And then we had Kevin Cole.
Here's where they performed in Visitation Church.
Do you get new members very often?
Yes,
Every year a couple.
we do. We do.
Unfortunately, someone just asked if we get new members. Well, yes, we do. But in the past few years, unfortunately, we have lost many of our choir members permanently.
Yeah.
And so that's been very sad. A lot of the original members have now of course, passed away. It's 50 years later.
That's right.
So,
We need new blood, that's
Yeah.
for sure. It's like, same thing that's facing our churches probably, church choirs. How many young people or high school or 20-year-old somethings are singing in your choir? Probably not. So as we age and pass away, we're facing the same dilemma. Okay, in 1993, Bay Chorale, along with the Saginaw Valley State University choirs, were invited to sing in St. Petersburg, Russia.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I'm going to give this over to one of our board members, and they're going to expound on our wonderful tours that we did outside of USA, and it's just wonderful. I'm going to ask, Sue is going to explain this, how it came about, how it started, and we do have some memorabilia up here that you might want to look at for some of our tours, and we did put some of the posters that appeared at these different places, countries. But Saginaw Valley Choir at one time did join with the Bay Chorale. We were one. And I think that happened because Dr. Nizula, of course, directed that chorale at Saginaw Valley, and so he combined both groups together. So for quite a few years, it was
Major works.
yeah, we did major works, and we had the voices to do it. So okay, now Sue Tayo is going to come up here and explain some of the wonderful tours that we have been on. Come on up, Sue. Go, Sue.
I joined the choir in 1991, and the Johnny-come-lately, it was something that I had done. I was, back in the heyday of Bay City schools, when we had band and orchestras, I started violin in the 4th grade and played until I was in the 8th grade, and I broke my little finger. And my dad said, just stick a popsicle stick on it, it'll be okay. And it catches, and it would not work anymore. So I gave up my violin career, and I started playing bassoon. And when I got into high school, Mr. Kramer said, we need a bassoonist in the orchestra too. And I had known Mr. Kramer early on because of an all-city band and orchestra. And so I had played in the orchestra, and it was just a continuation of, well, you know how to read music, so you can learn this instrument because we need it. And I didn't have to buy it because the school had it, and that was good because it was a very expensive instrument. But early music career, but then a funny thing happened. I tried out for a cappella, and I knew Mr. Cady, and my name wasn't on the list, and I got it was bullied, actually. They didn't call it then that back then. I was very hurt. And so I signed up for orchestra. I thought, I can do both. The orchestra was the last of the day, so that worked out for me. And Mr. Cady said, well, why didn't you show up for rehearsal, for class? I said, my name wasn't on the list. He said, well, you should have known. And no, I didn't know. My name wasn't on the list. So 1991, a neighbor called me and said, I saw a thing in the paper about singers, and she was going to come with me, and she didn't, but I did. And we were rehearsing at Garber at that time, and the association with SVSU usually came in the spring, where the choirs would join once in a while for the Christmas concert if there was a major work involved. And so a lady named Mary Lou Dawson had befriended a Russian sailor. At that time, after 91, things opened up more, and the sailors came. They were on the boat, and she housed one and befriended one of a Russian sailor. And he had an association with music people in St. Petersburg.
His daughter was the concert
Pianist,
with them.
yes. So they worked things out, and in 1993, it was all set up for this wonderful tour to Russia. And it was a fantastic experience. And we got to go just as things were opening up, and they wanted our money. So all the things, my Russian collection at that end, and I have to show you this. This was my prize purchase because they wear furs forever. And we went into a fur shop. They told us, don't buy it from the vendors on the street because there are a lot of them mafia. So they took us to a fur shop, and I saw some of the most fantastic fur coats you've ever witnessed. But I got to buy my hat. I said, my hair could never look that good. So I have liked my hat. And it's so warm. That's the beauty of it. Well, we went on this tour. It was well advertised, but there was still some politicking going on, and one of the concerts didn't make it because the building was somewhere where they didn't want bourgeois American singers to be. So we didn't
Heard was because we did Christian music.
So, you know, we didn't do that concert, but the other two were fairly well attended, and we enjoyed the touring, and we had a really great time. So that was our first trip, and sponsored through the university. The cost for the whole trip, including all meals, was $1,200. So that was a real bargain, and I think we all got enlightened because of that trip. If we hadn't done anything else, that opened our minds to travel and the human experience no matter where you were. So in '95, they said, I guess this was pretty good, let's do it again. So we went to Florence and did concerts there. And
Liliana Markle's the one that got us the invitation
yeah,
to that.
Liliana, very Italian lady, and so we hooked up with universities there. And the poster over here advertised all three of our concerts, one in Follonica, one in Prato, and one in Florence, Firenze. So that was very art-oriented. We did a lot of touring there, and we had a lot of freedom on our own to do various things. The concert in Follonica took us through a lot of the center part of Italy and then over to the coastline. And we were given a reception there and went out on a balcony overlooking the Mediterranean and could see all the tour ships lined up along the coast. So that was quite a very nice experience as well.
Does anybody remember when we broke into song on that balcony?
Yep, yeah,
I
we,
can't remember what song it was. It seemed like it was like, something like When Lilacs Last Bloomed or something like that.
yeah, yeah. And then, Jim, you went to Seville, right? Didn't you do the Italian, who did the Italian trip?
We didn't, our family didn't go until the next.
Oh, okay. Well, the trip to Spain, I didn't make that
Barb, Did you
one.
go to that
On
one?
that.
Okay.
No?
No one here went,
Yeah.
you went on the Spain trip.
Yeah.
They toured through several areas into Seville, had a successful tour there, and then we went to England. And I took my daughter on that trip. And we stayed in a home in Shrewsbury, which is a very, very old community. And it's the one where they have pictures of people shaking hands across the street from the buildings because the upper floors overlap and you can stick your hand out the window and shake your hand across the way. And it's on a winding river, and the old part of the city is set up there. And there are some, there are some pictures here of that old Shrewsbury Cathedral where we sang. A very ancient building. And Barb, did you go on the Prague trip? No. Another very successful trip. Prague, the Czech Republic, Vienna. There were some wonderful programs there, and then they went to Budapest. So
I was on that one also.
okay.
This was my last one.
And then 2003, Italy and Nice, France. So they enjoyed the French Riviera.
Cool that belt was.
And
There for Mardi Gras. We were there for Mardi Gras. Oh, really?
yeah.
In Nice.
So 2005, Madrid and Barcelona, and another very successful concert. And of course, after these concerts, we did the same program here. So it was a repeated performance. But most of the travel concerts were lighter music and involved several soloists and would bring in a few people from that only did the trips when we traveled. Dee Dee Tibbetts from the Thumb area played everything, and she just learned. She had the hurdy-gurdy and the Japanese,
Kodo.
the kodo, and she learned to do everything for all of these trips. Just a marvelous musician.
Speaking of,
And here we come with Japan. So we learned some of their music. And in each of these instances, we had to learn at least the sound of the foreign language, even if we didn't know what it meant.
Dr. Masula wrote medleys for most
Yep.
of these.
And we have a series, there's a lake in Japan, and there's Let's All Go and to this seashore, this lake, and this is a lake where they grow pearls. And then they went to Greece. Jim, you went on that trip.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to Nice.
that's nice.
When we were we flew into Nice, and then we went on to Genoa. And then we were invited to take a boat trip out of Genoa along the Mediterranean into Portofino. And there we were entertained by dancers from back in the 17th century, costumes, and they entertained us. And we ended up by whipping out our music out of our jack, and we sang to them the music of the Italian anthem. And that was one of the highlights.
Did the entire group go on that, Jim? On the boat trip?
Yes, yes.
I don't recall that. I remember being in Portofino. I don't recall being on a boat.
The only way you would have been to Portofino would be by boat.
So,
Okay.
So this is our concert from Florence, Italy, 95. That's one that I went on. You can notice that there were lighter music and the vocal jazz. We did a beautiful arrangement of Blackbird and Love is Blue, Just in Time, and Shirlene Brown, who still sings with us. In fact, Shirlene is known as Zarantage, and she had a long gig out at Mount Pleasant at the casino, singing in one of their rooms.
I see When Lilacs Last in the Dooryard Bloom.
Yeah.
That's what we say on the balcony, I'm pretty sure.
This concert ended with the Battle Hymn of
Hymn
the
of the
Republic.
Republic.
That is on the CD,
Yep.
if we get to that spot.
And there was a section there with all the Italian songs, a lot of the older Italian, we probably call them folk songs. And so we learned to do a bunch of the Italian. And
This is a different concert.
different
Yeah, this is-
concert, yep.
England, Spain, and Italy.
Yeah. And often the arrangements that he would do for these special programs would be his own arrangements, and we thoroughly enjoyed performing them, always very interesting. And if you notice on the left-hand side, it says Via Dolorosa, James Burak. He had the audience in tears with that song. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's speaking of Christ's journey on that road. Concert from Spain. We have all these programs that we've saved, nice mementos.
And this was just prior to a concert to Eastern Europe, it says.
Was that at Westminster?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
Okay. One of the things in the scrapbook that had been saved is the itinerary from the Budapest, Vienna, Prague trip. And I found this so interesting, I included it in the presentation because this was handed out to every member who went on the trip.
Right.
So they got all of their detailed information, their flights that they're leaving, and evidently there were so many people that they had to be split into separate flights. Everyone couldn't travel together.
2 planes.
And
Like 3 actually.
you'll notice that everyone arrived, the first flight would arrive in Amsterdam, and then the second flight would arrive in Amsterdam. And then finally they would get the buses to go to the hotel. It said lunch and dinner are on your own. The part I thought was really interesting, if you are not a performer, please notify your bus monitor. You know, they had all these detailed instructors, because yes, family members accompanied choir members. Then they had day trips all scheduled. Breakfast was, this one says breakfast seats 40 to 50 people, so you may want to get there early. And they were very specific on 12:15 sharp. You have to be in this certain place. There was something canceled at 1:15.
Ceramics Museum.
Okay, but it gave specific instructions on exactly what kind of transportation, when you were on your own, take the underground towards the Vorosmarty Terra, get off at the third stop. So these were very clearly laid out. And they were packed with all kinds of special tours and special stops. They had an Ash Wednesday Mass that was on this Wednesday, and dinner was at 6 p.m. I mean, all these details were written in, so this was handed to every chorale member and their accompanying friends or family. And it told them when to take their clothes with them. This page, they went on a moonlight cruise with a Dixieland band and a buffet.
Extravagant. Fun.
Look at the food they were given on this buffet.
Caviar.
oh, well, we had caviar in Russia.
Does anybody remember the goulash? What the goulash was like? It was like a very thin soup.
Oh,
No
okay.
pasta whatsoever.
Really?
No pasta. It wasn't thickened. No hamburger. It had chunks of meat. It was like a stew, actually.
And this is the last page. And it gave them the specifics about leaving from Prague and Amsterdam. The part I found very interesting is this little thing next to the guy dressed up in jail attire. As a participant of this trip, you have agreed to be on time for all departures by plane and bus. If you do not report on time, you will be responsible for the cost of your replacement transportation and the transportation for any staff member that stays behind to wait for you.
At one point in Italy, on our first Italian trip, we were in Siena, and the buses cannot pull into the city. It's walkable, and that's it. So there was a parking area outside where the bus stayed, and we had instructions to be back. We were on a walking tour on our own, but we needed to be back at a specific time. Well, most everyone got back, but there was one couple who was enjoying a fantastic dinner somewhere, and they just got engrossed in the food and the drink, and we waited and we waited, and we had to try to decide, do we try to find them? Do we leave without them? Because we didn't have this kind of a disclosure back then. And finally they did show up, but we were about half an hour late waiting for them. So I think that...
Who was that?
Lisa and Ron Embledge. The doors on all of these courtyards and buildings were so beautiful, enormous, beautiful wood doors. And so, you know, looking at the door, and there's our poster, so we got both of them
But
at
it's
once.
scotch taped to these
Yep.
beautiful
The
ancient
beautiful
doors.
Yep,
And there were no handicap accessible entrances anywhere.
anywhere. Now here's the cleaner side of the building, and you can see how enormous it is, with all of the statues and the carving, and the inside is absolutely gorgeous as well. And you can walk up, you could go through the, no, this is the one in Siena. This is in Siena. And they started this off as a medium-sized, in Siena. So medium-sized church, and then somebody else built one bigger, and then they wanted to go bigger, and there were other walls built out, but it was never completed. They ran out of money. And here's part of our group, and Sue Arnold and John Rickert and Tom Butts, and there's Rob and Lisa Embledge, and
Lots of standing.
Catherine Grotchek, I think, is with the umbrella.
Standing in the rain.
Yeah.
Oh,
evidently.
yes, yes.
You also visited.
This was Rome. We had, the trip to Italy was $990. And an additional 3 days in Rome was $150. And so you could hardly pass that up. My friend Pat Retluski and I were roommates, and she was watching her budget, and she said, well, I don't know if I should. And I said, Pat, when are you going to get back? You're never going to get back, so we have to do it now. And we did. This was in the airport. Catherine Grotchek, Sue Arnold, Ron Embledge, and John Rickert.
Yeah.
And there are the Embledges enjoying dinner again.
Not just dinner, they have some drinks.
Oh, yes.
No, that could have been water too.
And there's Eric Nasula.
Good picture of him.
I don't recognize those three people next to
Here's from the Budapest concert.
No, the cold Spanish soup, gazpacho. Yeah.
That's the picture that's down on the wall here.
Where is this, do you know?
Budapest or Prague, I believe.
Okay. I don't know what I was thinking then.
There's a Peter the Great on the horse, big statue in St. Petersburg.
Like Crazy Horse.
This is the people who went on the St. Petersburg concert evidently.
Well, this is the return concert.
In '93.
Yeah.
And they must have formed for fundraising purposes. There must have been a Valley Chorale Association, and these were some of the people involved with it. And then there's the list of Bay Chorale people who participated in that first trip.
Yeah.
And they thanked a lot of donors.
The students from SVSU were the recipients of the donations for that trip, and they did fundraisers on their own as well. Those of us in Bay Chorale had to pay our own way.
This is in Capella Hall in St. Petersburg.
There's Connie Raymond.
And these are from the Japan trip.
Japan trip. Eric Nisula, for some reason, was contacted through St. Nicholas, the Orthodox Church in Burton, and in '91 we went to St. Nicholas and performed for their 75th anniversary. It was interesting because I had never been in a Greek Orthodox church, or Russian Orthodox,
Now it's Easter.
and they got to see the artwork and to see how the church is set up, and we had a meal after the concert, and very well received. And so now it is their 100th anniversary.
That will be Friday, December 9th,
at 7:30 at the church in
Burton,
Burton.
Michigan.
So
However,
our concert this year is on Sunday, December 11th at Westminster Presbyterian Church. Even though they are undergoing renovations, the sanctuary is still intact and we will be performing there. Our spring concert, we don't know where it's going to be yet. We were informed not too long ago that we have to find an alternate place. So we're looking at several different areas that will allow us to be there. And throughout the years when Central Handy and Garber were available to us for free, that was wonderful. Now we have a stipend that we pay to help because we can't afford insurance and the liability is very high. So it costs us money no matter where we go, which is why now there's a set fee for the tickets, and we've been doing more fundraising, and we're also a nonprofit, even though we would rather not be a nonprofit. But the ticket sales are what keeps us going. So if you don't have anything you'd rather do on Sunday, we would love to have you come and be in our audience. We are performing the Magnificat, the Perulesi Magnificat, and several other, some lighter numbers. And but that's our major work. And we have a small orchestra. We rehearsed this morning with part of it, and you will really enjoy it if you come to be part of our concert. And we do thank you for being here today. And if anyone is interested in tickets, I do have some. And we do want to thank you again